Welcome back to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Yusuf, and this is the show where we have the honest, practical conversations about the things that genuinely shape how we feel and how we heal. Today's guest is Shelli Galvan, a master transformation coach, an hypnotherapist who specializes in helping women living with autoimmune conditions break free from the flare up cycle, calm their bodies, restore their energy, and feel safe and confident in themselves. Today, we're going to talk about something that does not get talked about nearly enough: the relationship between chronic stress, the nervous system, and autoimmune flares, and what it actually looks like to interpret that cycle. With that, I welcome my guest Shelly to the show. I'm so glad that you are here.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Perfect. So, before we get into the depth of this, I want to start somewhere personal. You work specifically with women navigating autoimmune conditions, and the way you describe your work, calming the body, restoring safety, rebuilding confidence. It sounds like it comes from a place of real understanding. What
Mm.
brought you to this particular area of work? Was there a moment or an experience that pointed you here?
Yes, my sister actually was diagnosed with several autoimmune conditions many, many years ago. And then I got diagnosed with lupus, although it was a misdiagnosis. So that was a blessing for me, but I didn't know I had that cloud over my head for 4 years, wondering if this is lupus, is that lupus? And, we did some more testing and found out I didn't have lupus. I actually had Raynaud syndrome, which stops the circulation in your fingers and your toes, and they get icy cold. And but but anyways, a lot of it was my sister, and I really wish she would have had different avenues when she first got diagnosed rather than just medication. And with women, 80% of people diagnosed with autoimmune is women. And I feel, as women, we put so much on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And we need to know that it's okay to stop for a second, to take 5 minutes for yourself. Autoimmune diseases can really make havoc on your bodies.
Hmm. Yeah. You know, Shelly, that sounds like, what you're describing is a body that has learned to be on guard. And that learning does not just switch off when the circumstances changes, right? Did I get it right?
Yes, yes, you did. Yeah. And sometimes you anticipate the flare. Like you think you have an event coming up and you start thinking about, like, oh, if I have a flare, what's going to happen? If I have a flare up, and so you put that extra stress on your body. So it's giving you, and like I said, with women, we don't give ourselves a lot of permission to do things because it's just how we're programmed. We take care of the house, the kids, we take it all, we take on the world. And sometimes we just need that permission of, even 2 minutes, take 2 minutes and just go breathe. Go find a quiet place and breathe, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Let us go deeper into the pattern itself, because I think for many of the women living this, there is a very specific and frustrating cycle. They have a flare, they feel frightened or overwhelmed. That stress response make things worse, and then the fear of the next flare comes. And it is a loop that feels almost impossible to step out of. So
Mhm.
what is underneath that loop at a deeper level? What keeps it running?
What keeps it running?
Yeah.
Sure, fear. It's you get it in your mind, and your mind, this, your mind is so powerful, and you start thinking about it and concentrating on it and knowing you're going to get that flare. And sometimes you have to break that cycle that is in your mind and just say, stop. I'm not going to do this. My body is safe. I know my body is trying to protect me. Even as bad as it hurts, it's still trying to protect me, and I'm okay. I can do this. And I also do, hypnotherapy sessions through my program that helps with that, helps you feel safer in your body. You can do that. I have different ones for when you go to sleep or, a little 5-minute one if you're starting to get some anxiety about a situation.
Yeah. So, and you use the word safety a lot in how you describe your work, helping women safe in their bodies again. That language, I feel, is very intentional. What does it mean for a woman's body to feel unsafe to her? And how does that internal sense of unsafety show up in her daily experience?
Well, that's just gonna be your stress because it's hard to wrap your brain around the mere fact that you have an autoimmune condition and your body's attacking itself. But you have to teach your body that you're okay and you're protecting yourself. That even though it sounds so funny, even though it's attacking itself, it's trying to protect you. And so your body's trying to fight against you. So there's a little bit of a battle. But once you learn how to get through that and it's okay, like I said, we have to have permission to be like, this is okay. This is okay for us to feel down, to have a bad day, to, do these things and take 5 minutes for ourselves because we don't take time for ourselves to just let things go, or to breathe. And you will know that just because of the work you do, you know, and it sounds funny, but 5 minutes is a lifetime just to take for yourself.
Yeah. What you are describing is not just a physical struggle. It is a fractured relationship with the body itself. And that is such a layered kind of pain because the body is both the place you live and the thing that feels like it keeps letting you down. And that disconnection is real and it deserves to be named.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like I said before, my sister is a huge inspiration to me and what she's had to go through in her life and the pain, I give her kudos. She's a big inspiration. And I have another friend that she has a lot of health concerns and I just see them as fighting. And like I said, I wish they had different avenues when they first got diagnosed, 30 years ago. Every doctor wants to just give you medication. But now, we're learning like you don't have to have medication. You can have, change your diet, change what you drink, eat, meditation, hypnosis, just, and also giving yourself, like I said, permission. We don't give ourselves permission to do things, to have a bad day. Yep.
Yes. I want to bring this into the everyday because I think a lot of women listening might recognize pieces of this, but have never quite connected the dots. So, what does this stress flare cycle look like in ordinary life?
Need to deal with pain in your joints. And depending on which autoimmune condition you have, it can affect all of your internal organs. And, you know, it's hard. It's hard to be happy and nice when you're in pain. It's hard to take care of your kids, your animals, your house, your job when you're in pain, and it's a hard thing for a lot of women to get through, and I want to help them with that.
No. No. You know, the story a woman tells about herself and her body can become its own kind of signal to the nervous system.
I'm sorry, what?
I was thinking that the story a woman tells about herself and her body can become its own kind of signal to the nervous system. And changing that story is not about positive thinking, it is about genuinely shifting the felt sense of what is possible and what is safe.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree with you. And it's I feel too like when you go into a doctor, like when I got diagnosed with lupus, I what does that mean? And she says, "Well, some days you're going to have bad days. It's just going to knock you on your butt." Like, "What? That's what you're going to say?" And And I feel sometimes, if we get certain things in our head, we're going to sit there and keep thinking, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? And it's like, okay, if I get knocked on my butt, like, what am I going to do about it? And so it's changing that, I don't know if you want to say negative thinking into positive thinking, but changing how you look at it. Like, okay, my body is attacking itself. It's okay because I'm okay and I can move on and I can choose to go and get in bed or I can choose to go outside into the sunshine.
Shelly, you work with hypnotherapy alongside transformative coaching, which I think might surprise some people. They may not immediately connect hypnotherapy with autoimmune healing. So, can you help us understand what hypnotherapy actually does in this context?
It lets your unconscious mind take a little bit of control, which is good because
Okay.
your conscious mind is the one that sits there and just keeps badgering you, like you're in pain, you're in pain, you're in pain. But when you go in there and talk to your unconscious mind and go through, with hypnotherapy, nothing's going to happen unless you want it to happen. So, it's relaxing. I just love it. You can, like I said, you can have a session for when you want to go to sleep. And, we just tell your unconscious mind, you're healthy, you're healing, it's okay, different positive affirmations, you know. Like I said, with women, we put ourselves down a lot. We're very crucial on ourselves. And so, I have just a positive affirmations meditation that I do and help people with, like, I'm at peace, or I read affirmations every morning, so it's helpful.
Okay. And more broadly, when you work with a woman through this process, when the nervous system does not start to settle and the cycle begins to shift, what changes first? I'm not talking about the physical markers necessarily, but the inner experience.
I would say their outlook, you know, learning to, like I had said earlier, learning to take time for yourself, you know, even if it's 2 minutes. There's different breathing exercises you can do, and I do them, and I have to set a timer because if I don't set a timer, then I sit there and I'm like, "What time is it now? What time is it now?" But I do a breathing exercise for 2 minutes, and I just close my eyes and I breathe, and, it's a great way to wake up. But it's also, you need to start the habit with it. You've gotta have a routine and be like, "I'm gonna take this time for myself," and once you do that, it feels
Yeah.
amazing, and it has nothing to do with, like, you're not neglecting your husband or your kids or your partner or your animals or any of that. You're just a few minutes for yourself, and that's okay.
Yeah. The shift from bracing to being, from waiting for something to go wrong to actually inhabiting your own life, that sounds like it carries enormous, enormous weight for someone who has been in the survival mode for years.
Yep. Yeah, because drama, workforce, anywhere, whenever there's drama, that causes stress and that can cause a flare up. So you learn, if you're, I don't know, in the lunchroom and the girls are talking drama, you got to have your boundaries. You got to just be like, you know what, I'm not going to get involved in this, and it's okay to walk away. It's okay to be like, this doesn't have to be like this.
But Shani, recovery and healing from something like this is rarely linear. There will be flares that come back, there will be hard days and hard seasons. What do you want women to understand about those moments, about what it means when things get difficult again, even after real progress has been made?
It's okay. It really is. It's okay. And then you just got to start over again. You know, you can't beat yourself up. We all have bad days. Like I said, I see it, with my sister and my friends, and it makes me want to cry because I don't feel there's enough support out there for women, and like I said, that medical doctors just want to give you one medication on top of another medication on top of another one. They don't want to look for the root cause and try and divert it. And, well, when do you get a flare up? Is it caused by, drama? Is it caused by this? Is it caused by that? Do you have that one toxic friend that constantly has so much stress and drama that you look at the phone when they call and you're like, I can't answer that. You know, it's boundaries.
Yeah. And for the woman listening right now who has been managing this alone for a long time, who may not, who maybe not, has not told anyone how exhausted she really is, what do you want to say to them?
Oh man, that's scary, and I'm here for you. I I couldn't imagine going through that alone. I I don't know, my heart hurts for that one
Uh,
to do that.
Yeah, yeah. The permission to stop managing it all alone, that itself might be the most healing thing that someone hears today.
To know they're not alone. Yeah, yeah, being lonely is not a good feeling.
Shelly, for people who want to connect with you or just want to learn more about your work, where can they find you?
On my website, shelligalvan.com, I also had a discount code, HealthyMind25, if they want to, purchase anything on the site. And my
Yeah.
email is to inspire within Gmail. So lots of ways to get in contact with me.
Perfect. And to everyone listening, all these links are in the show notes, so just go and check those out.
Thank you so much.
Shelly, is there any last message you want to leave it with?
Truly appreciate you taking the time and talking to me. And I've really enjoyed this. And I hope I can help some women.
Yes. Shelly, thank you so much for the clarity, for the compassion, and for bringing this conversation into a space where it belongs.
Yeah. Thank you.
And to everyone listening, if you are living with something that feels bigger than what the standard conversations about health have been able to hold, know that there are people like Shelly doing the deeper work, and know that you deserve that depth. If this episode felt important to someone in your life, please pass it along. We will be back with more honest conversations like this one. Until then, be gentle with yourselves, especially with your bodies. They are doing their best.